Hey everyone, it's Sarah here and welcome to day 3. Today we'll be talking about framework. And trust me, it's not going to be boring because I will share with you raw and real, the hard way of learning that key element to have if you want to have the life of flexibility, freedom, and fulfillment. And that oftentimes gets unnoticed and then sends you into downward spiral of anxiety and frustration and not to mention guilt trips. So let me just get something done here. I want to open a window for, hey Kelly, aloha. I want to open a window here so that I can also see. Sometimes Facebook does some crazy things. It doesn't show me who's joining me or it doesn't show me the comments. So I want to make sure that I can see. So I'm opening a screen here on the side. There we go. So framework. You know, it was so funny. I was talking to my healer not too long ago. And I was like, my kids were sick for about 2 weeks on and off. And that was after I was sick with not my daughter one, my little one had pneumonia last week, 2 weeks ago actually. But before, on the break of the new year, I came down with strep throat, sinus infection, and pink eye. And I was celebrating the fact that it was all the releasing happening, right? But I was also frustrated because, okay, there's so much I want to do. It's a brand new year. Is that really the way I want to start it? In bed with fever, right? Feeling like crap. But then I was talking to my healer after my little ones kept going in and out of feeling good and being able to go to school and staying home. And we were chatting. I was like, it's so interesting. That was noticing. I was like, it's so interesting how I love and embrace the fact that I have that flexibility and I have the freedom to work around my kids' needs, that I can cancel the entire day, I can cancel the entire week if needed in order to be with them. But on the other hand, I was like, it feels like part of me is missing by not being fully present in my business, but not doing the work, but not, putting myself out there, doing the live streams and stuff like that. And it was just exhausting. So it was so interesting because I wonder how many of you feel that way when on one hand, you have exactly what you've been asking for, and then when you start living that reality, it's like, it's not exactly how I envisioned. So we were uncovering things, and I was going back and back and back years ago, and it's like, okay, what do I need? And I noticed for myself, and I'm going to share this with you so that maybe you notice that with you, and so that you can know how to get out of that. I noticed it myself. I attached a condition to flexibility and freedom. So in my mind, bringing my own story in the conversation, the stories that we were talking about yesterday and so on and so forth, I had the notion if there's cash flow coming in, uninterrupted, predictable, knowing exactly what's going to happen, how much is coming in, what's coming out, I was fine with canceling everything. I was fine with going by flow, But as the moment when this consistency was in jeopardy, that's where my flexibility became a burden. That freedom to do whatever I wanted became a burden. So the first thing that I needed to let go with myself was that attachment, that conditioning, right? That flexibility and freedom are kind of independent and unrelated to anything else around. So in order to make that happen, if you have a teeter-totter, right, there has to be balance. What do you offset it off with? So that's what I'm going to be talking to you today. And then the second part, we'll talk about some more concrete structure that you can build for your life, for your business, so that you can have the space, as I'm saying, when I usually use the metaphor of a balloon. When you grow and when you expand, you need the space to grow and expand. And it's just like with the balloon, right? When you're blowing up the balloon, it's getting bigger, which means that anything in a way has to be removed, and in order to keep it out of the way, there need to be boundaries, right? So, if you want to see that framework as boundaries and parameters within which you can expand and grow, it all of a sudden doesn't seem so constraining and limiting as the initial word framework can actually be. And the reason I wanted to share this with you is because I see so often entrepreneurs, especially the ones who are purpose driven, spiritual, heart centered ones, very sensitive to energy and vibration, right? They feel that they will get trapped, that they will get restrained with the framework. But on the other hand, seeking that freedom for themselves, things start falling off the wagon because they're off balance, missing that one key component that I promise I'm going to share with you. So, as I mentioned, boundaries, parameters, and consistency can only happen when you have the structure set up. Now, you might be wondering, like, how can I have the flexibility and freedom if you're proposing that I create structure around myself? So let's dive right in. A call was coming through. Sorry about that. It's amazing. Every single time we dive deep, there's either a message or a call coming through. You start creating the structure around by creating the boundaries, by creating the drawing the lines of what is no longer acceptable, what is no longer tolerated. That's where you start. So if it's on a personal level and a business level, I'm going to dive into both of them. So let's start with the personal level. On a personal level, you take a look at people who are around you. You take a look at your surrounding. You take a look at around your habits. You take a look at the partnerships, at friendships, right? The conversations that you're having, conversations that you're engaging, thoughts that you're engaging, all those things, and you draw a line. What falls underneath the line of minimum acceptance? Either you bring it up or it has to go. A lot of times on a personal level, you will notice when you're growing and evolving and expanding, some of the friendships are just no longer a fit because people either grow with you or you grow apart. And many times, those are kind of the anchors that are pulling us down because we feel that we own the other person, that lifetime loyalty, we feel that we own them something, as opposed to being true and honest with ourselves, honoring our need to move on in case they are no longer aligned. And I see some brilliant entrepreneurs, brilliant people who are dragged back down into the trenches because they refuse to separate, to draw the line, to move on, so to speak. But it doesn't stop there, right? It goes for every single thing in your life. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to move to Europe as well. Because the environment where I currently am, it's not supporting what I am building. Because I am not looking for where I am right now, what I have right now. I'm making decisions based on where I want to be, based on when I know I'm going, based on that knowing it's happening, it's already a done deal. I just need to follow the path that has already been paid for me in the future. You get it? So it was a hard decision. It was not an easy decision. It's not something you wake up in the morning and it's like, oh, you know what? I'm packing my kids. I'm taking them out of school and I'm going to set up a meeting with the principal that we just did today. It's like, hey, by the way, on such and such date, I'm pulling the kids out of school and I'll be homeschooling, you know? It can be quite a process, but it starts with the first decision that, okay, where is that line, the boundaries? So once you establish those, now you can construct the new, if we're talking business, let's say a model. And that's really evident when working with entrepreneurs, for example, who have done the hourly based services, who have done the $150 an hour chasing after clients who just wanted, project based services, and the clients would know from today to tomorrow how much longer the project is going to extend. Are they going to renew the contract? Are they moving on? Where's the next client coming from, right? All of those things play into that anxiety that I mentioned at the beginning, when you need that consistent cash flow. You need a consistency in schedule to certain amounts so that you can play freely with everything else, right? You need that safety and security in order to be able to move on into the higher levels. So when a client came to me and said, listen, $150 an hour, hourly based services, that's no longer acceptable for me. What do I do? How do I get out of it? I have a vision of what I want. I want to be able to work more, make way more money, go much deeper with my clients, but have more time to travel and have more time for networking, have more time for hosting dinner parties, for painting and doing all the philanthropical work, right? Philanthropy. I think I just butchered the word. How do we do that? It was easy, right? We reconfigured that business model to support them. And it doesn't have to be a high-end retainers. If you want to go with low-end subscription, that is another model. If you want to go with high-end one-on-one, that's another model. If you want to go with VIP days, hey, you can build a whole business around VIP days. You can build a whole business around licensing your proprietary intellectual property, right, and proprietary systems that you have developed over the years. Sky is the limit, but depending on what you're selecting, that's the framework and the structure you'll start putting in place. Because on a very practical level, if you think about it, you can't have the stilts of a cottage, right? And you say one day, you know what, I'm going to make it a McMansion. And you start bringing the furniture, you start building the chandeliers and all fine art. And first and foremost, you have nowhere to put it. And secondly, you need to start tearing things down that no longer support you. So the cottage probably is not going to be a good fit anymore. The foundation's probably not gonna be strong and big enough. So that's how you start reconstructing things, and that can be anywhere from the front end of the business to the back end of the business, from marketing and sales all the way down to the processes and systems, things that oftentimes don't even get talked about, infrastructure, right? So with that being said, I hope that it gives you a peek into a couple of things, to an invitation almost, if you will, to take a look, to look at things differently, to not shy away from the fact that yes, you do need the framework and structure in order to have the flexibility, freedom, and fulfillment that we are after. That having the structure and framework doesn't have to be confining. It's actually the platform that sets you free. If you have any questions, let me know, because tomorrow we're going to be moving to the next part, the fourth part, and we'll be recreating the strategies around it. Because over the past 3 days, especially yesterday and today, you have been laying a foundation. You are playing the bigger vision. You are playing with what's possible. Today you learned what are the things that you can give yourself permission to let go. What are some of the new ways that you can start turning things that you have around yourself to support you better. And then tomorrow we'll be diving into the strategy to actually start executing on it. Because the strategy in itself, it's so funny. I can't believe I'm going to share this with you. But even though I'm a strategist, strategies strategies by themselves, they are not gonna change the fact that you are where you want to be. Hey, TJ. First and foremost, you need the mindset. You need to have that framework that we're talking about, and then you have to have inspired action, because you can be hustling and bustling and grinding until 3 o'clock in the morning, but you're not gonna see the desired results. In fact, you're gonna be burning yourself out. But you can work half the time with much greater ease, in the flow, having fun, and have results that are so much greater, so much more fulfilling when they are inspired, when they are aligned, when they come from your heart, as opposed to just the mind and just blindly following the strategies. So we'll talk about all of that tomorrow. If you have any questions,